Alrighty, so part two of this review as we finish off the remaining Saturday game and also talk about the two Sunday game that happened yesterday. And I also just realized that for this weekend, it is the international break. So for some of these teams, well, actually not for some of these teams, but for most of these MLS teams, they're not going to be playing for another 2 weeks. But there are some teams that unfortunately will have to play during the international break, though. Again, from what I heard a couple of weeks ago, it seems like Tata Martino might have dropped a bombshell that the league maybe think about working next season of not having games during the international break. And I think that pretty much has ended the discussion in terms of all the discussion of how it's kind of stupid, the fact that MLS games are still happening during the international break. But that being said, getting back to this video, we start off with the Rocky Mountain Cup between RSL and the Colorado Rapids to begin part two of this review. And yeah, this is a game that RSL needed to win badly. I mean, in some way, it's kind of a must-win game for them because, whenever the Rocky Mountain Cup is happening at Rio Tinto Stadium, or now it's called American Forest Field, but I know a lot of RSL fans are going to always refer that as Rio Tinto and the Riot. But yeah, they needed to win this one badly, and they did. They got a 2-0 win against the Rapids. Arango had a shot that was deflected and goes wide before McMath denied Navarro from close. Rubio then puts it high from long range. I didn't think it was a bad start for Colorado. I mean, knowing the fact that the Rapids are clearly the worst team in the league right now, they got to put up a fight at least in the first 16 minutes. That came to an end in the 19th minute when RSL gets the opening goal. It's Mateus Vera that gets the opening goal for RSL. And what was a great free kick goal from Vera. Yeah, Illich should do better in terms of that. I mean, it wasn't really hit in the upper 90. He got a hand to it. He's got to parry that one away. And then Vera thought that, after he scored that free kick goal, why not try it again? Just 4 minutes later. This time, though, he did puts it high before Illich did deny Chang, but it falls right back to Arango, who puts it wide. I mentioned how Chicho Arango, he has been on a goal drought lately. I mean, you can see that he's kind of been snake bitten in the last couple of games because that's usually one that he would have put it away. And it seems like he saw this message because as we head to the second half with RSL leading 1-0, in the second half they quickly made it 2-0. And guess who? It's Chicho Arango. He scored from Chang to make it 2-0 in favor of RSL. He needed that one badly. I mean, just to give his confidence back after scoring that goal. So yeah, that made it 2-0. Savarino then looked for a third, but he puts it just wide before Illich would deny Savarino from close range. It was all RSL up to this point. I mean, they were pressing to trying to get a third. Maxwell then hits one right to McMath before Rubio hits one right to McMath as well. Ojeda then bends one that just wide from close range before Illich denied Julio from close. And then Julio thought that he put the cherry on the top for RSL in this one, but the flag did not agree with him. So yeah, the goal was disallowed for offside. It remained 2-0, and that would be the final score of this Rocky Mountain Cup. Again, a much needed win for RSL because they have been really struggling in the last couple of games. Shots in this one, 17 shots for the 6 that Colorado has, 3 shots on goal for the 5 that RSL had, 6 shots that was off target for the 2 that Colorado has, 1 shot that was blocked for the 6 that RSL has, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that the Colorado Rapids has in this game. And again, Colorado just playing out the string right now, and them along with Toronto are clearly doing the same thing. But I have a feeling, unlike TFC, at least they're kind of trying. I don't think that's kind of the same case for Colorado. And now there's the question of, is Robin Fraser the future of this team? Is he going to be potentially going to be fired? And I'm not going to put this all on Robin Fraser. I mean, when you look at the roster that Colorado has had, it's clearly that they're trying to do the money ball approach. And we mentioned before, while the money ball approach did work out very well, just like the real life money ball approach, it's not going to work all the time. Eventually, this penny pinching MLS 1.0 kind of mindset just does not work in the age of where teams are actually, they have to spend money to improve their team, and Colorado is clearly a good example of that. But that being said, moving on into the next game is the Galaxy and the Houston Dynamo. So the Dynamo, they continue to stay unbeaten, and I will say that this was one of those games where both of these teams, they will feel like there were points left on the table after how this one went. So in the first 20 minutes, if you missed the first 20 minutes of this game, good news, you didn't miss much. I mean, there was nothing that happened in the first 20 minutes. The first shot of the game didn't came until the 22nd minute. when Mikael puts it wide from close range. Herrera then puts it just wide from close, as I thought Houston started to get into this game and look for the opener. Again, this is a Houston side that is definitely not like the previous Dynamo side that I've seen in years past. This is clearly a very confident Dynamo side, which is, again, something that I thought I would never said. That a Ben Olsen coach team would be playing some fun soccer in the year of 2023, but that's the world we're living in right now. And also, you wonder maybe Ben Olsen might even get some contention for coach of the year. I mean, that would be crazy to say, but the job that he has done to this team, despite all the criticism and all the hatred you could even say from some Dynamo fans when he was first hired, he's definitely proved those doubters wrong in terms of coaching this team and getting this team to become a very fun team to watch. In the 35th minute, Sturridge did try to score against his former team because, people forget Daniel Sturridge used to be a Galaxy player, but he missed wide there. And then Bond would deny Bear as he was in on goal there, and with how hot that Corey Bear has been, you would expect him to put that one in the back of the net, but great save there from Jonathan Bond denying Bear there. And then Joveljic on the other end missed wide, as that was really the best chance I thought the Galaxy had up to that point. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Bond would deny Bassi, who tried to chip it over him. Houston was definitely on the front foot again. They were pressing for the opener. I thought it was a flat start for the Galaxy. I mean, in both halves, they didn't really come out the gate strong. Though Boy did hit one right to Tarbell. Again, Tarbell, of course, get the star. I'm not quite sure what happened to Steve Clark, but Tarbell, of course, gets the start in this game. But there was a wholesale change happened around the 60th minute mark, as pretty much both Houston and Galaxy decided to do a line change. There was 6 change combined, with 4 of them came from the Galaxy, 2 from the Dynamo. That is probably the most I've seen in an MLS game. I mean, the fourth official, he had his hands full in terms of trying to get all the players in. And again, it kind of almost reminds me a little bit like preseason, where you have like pretty much the entire second team playing in the second half. We're doing a game and stuff, or even in the MLS All Star game, where we kind of saw something similar to that, where you get like a next batch of player coming in, and then the next batch of player after the 30-minute mark is done. But in the 75th minute, Tarbell would deny Aguirre, but it fall back to Barrios, who is also denied by Tarbell. I'll tell you what, Andrew Tarbell, I thought he had a good game in this one, and it is not easy for him to come into this game knowing Clark has been the main goalkeeper, and that, Tarbell, doing his time with Austin, and especially doing his time with the Quakes, has not been a great goalkeeper, but he definitely came in this game and performed very well, and also most importantly, kept a clean sheet in this one. It is rare to see Andrew Tarbell keeps a clean sheet. Like Andrew Tarbell keeping a clean sheet, as a Quakes fan myself, is kind of as rare as it gets. Probably as rare as a blue moon, which kind of funny thing is the fact that actually just happened recently. But in the 76th minute, Bond would deny Herrera from close range. I thought the opener was up for grabs. Again, both of these teams was getting some good chances. And probably we would have had the opening goal if it wasn't for some great save by both goalkeepers. Aliu then somehow miss wide from a point blank range, because despite the fact that Aliu Ibrahim did score in the last game from well, he actually went through on goal and score that second goal to pretty much finish the Columbus Crew off. Yeah, that was just kind of an outlier. Aliu basically remind that he is Aliu, and that this has been one of the problems for him this season. He's not been a clinical finisher, and yeah, he missed that one wide there. But in the 86th minute, the Galaxy were down to 10 men when Calgary is forced out due to an injury. The Galaxy are hoping that's not going to be something that's going to be a long term, because Calgary is important to this defense, and he's been dealing with some injuries, a lot of injuries this season too. But the Galaxy also have used all their subs. Again, they used 4 out of their 5 subs in one window too, so it was not a big surprise that they pretty much burned all their subs up to that point. So they had to play down to 10 men, but thankfully for them, Houston didn't really offer too much resistance, and in the end, in the only game this week, every week we usually always have a 0-0 draw. This is the one that is the case, as it ends scoreless between both of these teams. Shots in this one: 11 shots committed, 8 that Houston has, 4 shots on goal for the 3 that the Dynamo has, 4 shots off target for the 3 that the Galaxy had, 4 shots on block for the 1 that Houston has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compare the 45% possession that Houston has in this game. And like I said, both teams had their moments in this one. I don't think this was one of the more boring nil-nil draw. I think it's kind of like a standard nil-nil draw where neither team were able to capitalize their opportunity. But that being said, both of these teams will feel like they left points in the table, and especially for the Galaxy, they will be disappointed to draw points at home, and for a team that is chasing for playoff position, yeah, this is definitely not the result that they were hoping for. But that being said, moving on in the next match is the game that I went to, which is the Blues NYRB, or as I would say, it's the playoff six-pointer, the Western Conference version, between the San Jose Earthquakes and Minnesota United. So unlike the playoff six-pointer that I mentioned in part one between Chicago and DC, where that was not close whatsoever, this one was. And I think the result in this one was fair because, I think you can see both of these teams. They had their moments in this game too, but both goalkeepers were very good. Though there was also a bit of a controversial call that happened in this one. In the first half, Minnesota wastes no time to score the opening goal. It's Timu Puki. He scored from Reynoso there to give Minnesota a 1-0 lead. What a ball that is from Reynoso. I mean, there's a reason why he's called El Rey. Because he absolutely put this one on a platter, and Pookie, I've said it before, that goal that he scored in the last game against Colorado, and you see how he celebrate of just pure relief that he finally got one. It feels like now he gets going, and this is definitely great news for this Minnesota United team because as much as I know this attack has started to liven up in these last couple of games. It's all about getting Pookie get things going, and it feels like he is now started to get going, and we'll see whether that continue. But what a goal that is from Pookie, and in some way he probably should have had a brace in this game too. But yeah, that made it 1-0. In the ninth minute, Rosales would look for a second, but he blasted that one high. I thought it was a promising start for the Loons, and they had to be because I thought coming into this game, knowing the fact that this is the third game in 7 days, and they kind of had this awkward kind of span where they play on the road against NYCFC, then they return home, and then they have to go on the West Coast in a 3 day span against the Quakes. Fatigueness was going to be a factor for this team, so they had to get off to a good start, and they did, and they did kind of the usual thing. This looked like early on it was a very Minnesota United game, which is trying to hit teams on the transition and allow the opposition have all the possession. The Quakes were having all the possession, but they were just getting absolutely killed on the transition. In fact, early in this game, the shots were 6-0 for Minnesota, but in the 17th minute, against the run of play, K Cal would score from Jackson Yu to tie the game up at one apiece. That came off of a deflection shot for the Quakes. So yeah, a little bit fortunate there from K Cal, and I think this is the second time I've seen the Quakes, of course, got a goal against Minnesota off a deflection at PayPal Park last year. I remember Shea Salinas got one, and now it's K Cal, the one that gets the fortunate goal. So yeah, in a Quakes perspective, that's definitely lucky, but in a Minnesota perspective, that is disappointing because yeah, that was just unfortunate that it was deflected. And in though that being said, they look like they almost instantly respond if it wasn't for Danielle robbing Dotson from point blank range. I mean, did I mention both goalkeepers were very good? Yeah, both Daniel and Dane Sinclair was definitely on their game in this one. But I also thought that the Quakes got away with that chance because that came off of a WTF turnover. I mean, how many times I mentioned turnover kills games, and the Quakes. I know doing this bad run that they have committed a lot of bad turnovers, and they got away with that one. And Daniel bailed them out again because of it. Trico then puts it just wide from close to the 22nd minute before Akapo miss it wide from close. All the momentum started to shift. You can see that the Quakes were started to have the momentum. They were looking to try to get the lead. Cal then puts one right to Dane Sinclair on a lightning counterattack. And I thought it seems like the Quakes are now giving Minnesota a taste of their own medicine in terms of being quickly on the transition. It's almost like Luchi Gonzalez realized that, oh, yeah, Adrian Heath, you like to hit on the transition. Well, how about we turn the table? And now I'm going to be the team that is going to hit on the transition, and that Minnesota did start to get more of the possession, but that's kind of not good news for the Loons because this is a team that doesn't really do well when they have the possession and trying to break teams down. And when they got caught on the transition, boy, did they get caught and leave so much space for the Quakes to exploit. But in the 45th minute, Beeson did puts it wide from close range, and we do head to halftime with the score tied up at one apiece. Now in the second half, Espinoza would puts it right to Dane Sinclair. That came off a bad turnover from the Loons, and then in the 56th minute, Dane Sinclair would rob Montero, who had a free header. So yeah, that again talk about bad defending. That was bad defending from the Loons, and they got away with it. I mean, just Montero completely left unmarked. I don't know who was marking him, but yeah, that was clearly a blown assignment, and Dane Sinclair made a big save. Though that wouldn't even be the most impressive save that he would make. But I also thought that the Rohith mode might have been activated because this is kind of where I start to see this team maybe kind of bunker, trying to hold on to a point, and it makes sense because you can see the team was starting to get tired with the way that those fatigueness and those heavy legs are going to start to catch up to them, knowing this is the third game in 7 days. Though in the 61st minute, Minnesota thought that they got the lead back, and Pookie thought that he scored his second goal, but VAR did take a look originally to see whether or not if Pookie was in an onside position, but then they said that they were checking to see whether Reynoso handballed it, and they said Reynoso handballed it. Now, I mean, I will say this, as biased I might be as a Minnesota fan, I don't think that was a handball. I really don't. And I think, that was one that it hits the shoulder of Reynoso. And, whenever a ball hits the shoulder, it's very great area. I mean, there's been some that say that it's a handball. There's some that are depicted it's not. It's one of those gray area one, and that I think if it is one of those gray area kind of spot, they shouldn't overturn it. Because, the as I mentioned many times before, the only time when a call is need to be overturned is if it's clear and obvious. And I mentioned many times before that is a term that is hard to determine, and in some way it's also a great area too, because clear and obvious can be interpreted in different way depending on which VAR crew is in. And apparently I think this VAR crew feel like that was clear and obvious enough to do so, and then again, it's kind of frustrating because I'm trying to figure out a way where they can make sure that each of these VAR crew will have no have the same leniency in terms of what is exactly clear and obvious, and I just simply can't find one. So yeah, that was unfortunate there from Reynoso, and even more unfortunate for Pookie there because that was a great finish from Pookie. I mean, he blasted that one in the near post. You usually don't see a player looks so confident to blast that one in the near post. But the goal, of course, was chopped off. Though in the 67th minute, Dane Sinclair he absolutely robbed Ebobasi from point blank. I mean, Ebobasi had a point blank effort, a free header there. Again, just great marking there from the Loons. But Dane Sinclair somehow with a cat-like reflex to rob Ebobasi there. But as time winds down, you can clearly see fatigue was starting to show on this Loons team. I mean, fatigue was already kind of showing on this team, but it was clearly a factor because every time when the Quakes go on the transition, you can see there were players that are jogging and are just gasping for air. The Quakes were trying to capitalize on it. Dane Sinclair would then deny Cal from close range before Beeson would head it wide from close. Daniel then denied Reynoso from close range, and then Garcia would puts it just wide from close range, which is kind of odd because in the last 5 minutes, the Loons actually found some new life. So a team that looked like they were dead tired, on the other end, they looked like they almost stole all 3 points in this one. But in the end, it does end in a 1-1 draw in this one, and the shots in this one 18 shots compared to 14 that Minnesota has. 6 shots on goal compared to 7 that Minnesota has. 8 shots off target compared to 4 that Minnesota has. 4 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Minnesota has. And possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that the Quakes has in this game. And overall, I think a draw is kind of fair in terms of the result. I mean, yes, Minnesota fans will be upset with the call that they had in the first half that kind of gone their way, or actually not the first half, but the second half that is kind of gone against them. But when you considering that the Quakes had some really good opportunity and Dane Sinclair had to make some really big save to keep this team in, I think it's a fair result that it ends in a 1-1 draw. And then also in a Quakes perspective, obviously it is a fair result, but at the same time, what is frustrating is the fact that they still have not got a win since they were, well, actually they have got a win against Vancouver. I almost forgot they were able to win that game against Vancouver, which seems like a long time ago. But again, these kind of resort, these kind of 6 pointer, especially when you're playing at home, these are kind of the resort they need to have 3 points. I mean, I think I've said the same thing about Montreal, and it's kind of the same thing I'll apply with the Quakes. This is a team that does not do well on the road. They rely heavily on their home form to get them into the playoffs, and if they draw points like these at home, they're not going to make it to the playoffs because I know they still have some road games coming up, and some of those road games are actually going to be against teams that is around them. But I just don't have a lot of confidence because of the fact that they just have not been very good this season on the road and have never been good on the road for the past pretty much decade or so. But that being said, moving on into the next game, and that, of course, is the Cascadia Derby between the Seattle Sounder and the Portland Timbers. Well, the good news about this Cascadia Derby, there was go, and this one was definitely much more entertaining than the Cascadia Derby that we saw back. I think it was July or around that time when we had a Cascadia Derby. I mean, yeah, that I don't really remember the exact day of that last Cascadia Derby at Lumens Field because it was just so forgettable. But there was at least goals in this one. But still, I think both of these teams, I don't think neither of these teams is going to be happy with this result. Though that being said, in the first half, and once again, I feel like both of these team, it's kind of weird the fact that they decided to wear their alternative kit again. I mean, I always remember in the Cascadia Derby, both of these teams tends to wear green, so it's kind of weird that they decided to wear the alternative kit again. Seattle wearing the Bruce Lee kit, the red jersey, and the Timbers wearing their Rose City pink kit, and that again, if you never watched a Cascadia Derby before, you probably would have guessed the fact that red versus red is pretty normal, even though that's not the primary color of both of these teams. But what's also even more weird is that Phil Neville was the co-commentator of this game. Again, it just feels odd the fact that Phil Neville. I mean, I know he has been a co-commentator before, but it's kind of weird the fact that he's there, especially after he just got fired by this Miami team. And I'll tell you what, I think Apple TV are making sure he doesn't commentate Miami games because I'm pretty sure he's probably going to be very jealous the fact that he could have been coaching that Inter Miami team with Messi and company instead of unfortunately getting fired by them not long ago. But that being said, 1 minute in, Evander did puts it just high from long range. But then in the ninth minute, we got ourselves a goal, which is something we did not get in the last Cascadia derby. It's Rui Diaz scoring from Reagan there to make it 1-0 in favor of the Seattle Sounders. So at least Rui Diaz kind of quiet the doubters, the fact that he hasn't been good enough and he seems to be a little bit washed up this season. So he did try to go for another one in the 20th minute, and he puts one right to Bingham. But like the last Cascadia derby, I thought chances were still limited. I mean, those chances I mentioned on the board are really kind of the only chances we got up to that point. But that being said, unlike the last Cascadia derby, we did see a goal, and we would see another one in the 30th minute when Leo Chu would score from Rui Diaz to make it 2-0 in favor of the Seattle Sounders. Now, he did take off his shirt to celebrate and gets a yellow card for that. And the reason why I wrote that is that would come back to haunt Leo Chu in a big way late in the game. And plus, I mean, I get it. It's a great goal, and I know when you score in a Cascadia derby, it definitely means a lot for the team and of course the guy that scored the goal. But this is the 30th minute. You should not be taking your shirts off and get yourself a yellow card just because of that. And again, now that he's kind of sitting on thin ice a little bit for 60 minutes, make sure he doesn't commit any fouls that get him a second yellow card. And like I said, we're gonna just a little spoiler alert. That turns out it was not the case. But in the 34th minute, Bingham did deny Chu, but it fall right back to him, and he puts that one high. And then Bingham would rob Rui Diaz from a point blank effort, and it was all Seattle up to this point. Like Portland, they looked like they were completely disarray at the back, almost like they are completely rattled and realize that, yep, looks like the season it is going down the drain with them down 2-0. So they did have a big opportunity in the 39th minute if it wasn't for Joao Paulo clearing Mora shot off the line after just some pinball action in the Sounders box. And then they had another chance right on the stroke of halftime with Evander puts it just wide on the free kick. And again, they have come alive after just being second best for most part of the first half. They were looking to trying to get one late in the end of the first half, but we do head to halftime with the Sounders leading 2-0. But in the second half, remember I talked about how Leo Chu taking his shirts off and gets a yellow card and how that's come back to haunt him? It came back to haunt him in the 53rd minute because he gets a second yellow card here. I mean, I feel like it was a bit harsh because he kind of ran right into to McGraw there. He kind of was going for the ball and unfortunately kind of ran right into him. But I guess maybe that's malicious enough of worthy of a second yellow card. So yeah, the Sounders were down to 10 men in this game, and that kind of changed this game in a big way because the momentum was now with the Timbers. Paredes would puts it wide as the Timbers were looking to capitalize immediately with a man up, and they do in the 67th minute. It's Darren Asprilla scoring from McGraw to make it 2-1 in this one, and the Sounders killer strikes again. I mean, Darren Asprilla, I always remember I make the jokes about how he's not allowed to score a goal unless it's October or playoff time. Well, it feels like this season he's not allowed to score a goal unless he's playing against the Seattle Sounders or the Vancouver Whitecaps, that is, because against Cascadia team, I think Darren Esprit has had like 4 goals so far against both the Sounders and the Whitecaps, and he got another one here to make it 2-1 in this game. Not long after, it was all tied up. It's Evander scoring from Mosquera here, and this was a great goal from Evander. And again, this is the debate about Evander. If you're a Portland Timbers fan, I mean, on one hand, he can do this, and he can basically score go out of nowhere and definitely worth the $10 million price tag. But then on the other, he also makes some bad mistake on the defensive end. He doesn't track back too much, and also at times could be a black hole in terms of leading the attack, not playing the right passes. So yeah, it's kind of there's no in between with Evander this season, and I can understand why there's that frustration of the inconsistency of Evander of how he can go from games where he can score amazing goals, and then there's also times where he can be very lazy or very selfish of not really orchestrating an attack that they hope that he's supposed to be when they first bought him to the Timbers. But yeah, that ties the game up at 2 apiece. Darren Respria then looked to try to get his second and get the lead for the Timbers, but it was put it wide from long range, and then Moreno would hits one right to Fry, but there was no doubt the momentum was with the Timbers, and you can see the Sounders. They look rattled. They look like they're on the rope. Well, Reagan did hit one right to Bingham in the 82nd minute, and as the time winds down, both of these teams, they were trying to get that third goal, get that crucial Cascadia Derby win, but unfortunately the chances never really came. And in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw in this one. The shots in this one, dead even at 14 shots. 7 shots on goal for the 5 that the Timbers had. 5 shots off target for the 3 that the Sounders had. Both teams had 4 shots that was blocked. 55% possession compared to 45% possession that the Sounders had. But yeah, well, this Cascadia Derby was definitely more exciting than the last one. It's definitely not the result that both of these teams were looking for. I mean, both of these teams really needed to get a win. Well, actually, not necessary. I mean, the Sounders have started to play much better, and they're still pretty high up in the standings. Though, again, we'll see whether or not for the remaining part of the season can they continue to do well in terms of the main part of the season. I mean, lately they have definitely played much better and has been able to keep themselves high up the standings. I can't say the same thing about the Portland Timbers. I mean, again, they needed to win this game. I know they came back from 2-0 down, but when you have a man advantage, you had that momentum to trying to make it 3-2, they have to do it because now with this result, I mean, I don't think this is the boost that they needed to try to make a run late in the playoffs. But they can prove me wrong. They maybe still able to get a boost. Maybe them coming back from 2-0 down to draw 2-2 might be enough for them to get that Cascadia Derby boost to get them up the standings. But again, in many ways, they really needed to win this game, and they don't get it. And also, the other thing I would say about Seattle and them being disappointed coming out of this game, they blew a 2-0 lead. And that that Leo Chu, again, just he's gonna get a lot of the blame for the fact that he should have never took his shirt off in the 30th minute and risk himself of getting a second yellow card like he did in the 53rd minute. But that being said, I am now going to change sports and look at the last two games and look at the Sunday games of this match week. So moving on, we have the Philadelphia Union and the New York Red Bulls. So the Red Bulls, they play well in this game. Well, all but 15 minutes for this one. Because early on they actually got the lead. It's Omer Fernandez that gets the opener for the Red Bulls to give a 1-0 lead, and you're thinking, well, maybe the Red Bulls can get a massive win against a team that has just been their ultimate kryptonite this season and really in past season in the Philadelphia Union. Nope, because after Bedoya looked for an instant respawn and he hits it right to Cornell, and then Cornell denied Urut, who was trying to back heel that one in, and then of course the post denied Hariel on a looping header, and I thought it was a good response for the Union as they were pressing for the equalizer. They get the equalizer in the 29th minute. It's Glasnes, the one that gets the equalizer for the Union, and it was just shambolic defending there from the Red Bulls. I mean, both from the Red Bulls and Carlos Cornell with a poor punch there, leave that one dangling in the 18-yard box. And when you don't clear that away, you're basically asking to get score on, and Glasnes took advantage of that. He puts it into the back of the net to tie the game up at one apiece. And to make things worse for the Red Bulls, Cameron Harper would get his second yellow card off the game. So, yeah, the Red Bulls were down to 10 men. And this is where, if you're a Red Bulls fan, you're thinking, yeah, they have no shots in terms of winning this. And it looked like the Union immediately capitalized as Carranza would put the ball into the back of the net. But VAR did see whether or not if Carranza was in an offside position. And he was. And he was very close to being onside, maybe a hair off there, but there was no doubt that I thought the Red Bulls got away with it. But they have to make some defensive adjustment in the second half, because in that latter part of the first half when they were down a man, the Union they were creating some really good opportunity. Well, it seems like they didn't really quite see what I wrote there, because despite the fact that they did have an opportunity in the second half and Omer Fernandez almost trying to catch the Union off guard again and scoring a second goal there, but Blake was having none of it. He denied him there and denied the Red Bulls to retake the lead. The Union would take the lead. It's Damian Lowe scoring from Wagner to make it 2-1 in this one. Little did we know that this would be a monster game for Kai Wagner in terms of assists, because just 1 minute later, he would assist on Carranza goal to make it 3-1 in favor of the Union. So in a blink of an eye, it was 3-1 in this one, and this is where I'm thinking, uh-oh, this could get ugly for the Red Bulls, because we've seen this before, where if the Union can score in quick succession, they're going to score 4 or 5 goals in quick succession too. Well, the fourth goal did came in the 76th minute when Daniel Gastek did score from Wagner to make it 4-1 in favor of the Union, though the celebration was a little bit subdued because there was a huge concern seeing Gasdag immediately grab his left knee as soon as he put the ball into the back of the net. Now the good news is I think he might have just pulled his hamstring a little bit, and he maybe will be out for a couple of weeks. It's not any serious injury, but still, that's going to be a bit of a loss for the Philadelphia Union. Consider Gastek is one of their more important attacking piece, and this is where you really are hoping guys like Carranza and Rue can step up for this Union team if Gastek is going to be missing time for these next couple of weeks. But still, the Union was able to walk away with a relatively comfortable win. 4-1 was the final score against the Red Bulls. And the shots in this one, 14 shots for the 11 that the Union had, 6 shots on goal for the 4 that the Red Bulls had. Both teams had 2 shots off target, 8 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Union has. And possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession the Red Bulls has in this game. So, yeah, again, this is kind of the same thing I said about the Union against Leeds United. Anytime when the Union play against the Red Bulls, it's probably going to be a win for the Philadelphia Union, because, like DC, the New York Red Bulls simply cannot beat the Philadelphia Union, no matter if it's in a regular season game or in a playoff game, or even in the Leeds Cup this season when they lost to the Union in a PK shootout. It's their ultimate kryptonite, and that they kind of found out again in this one against the Union. But that being said, moving on into the last game on this board, and the last game of this match week is LAFC versus Inter Miami. So yeah, this was a game that was billed as the most expensive game to attend in MLS regular season history because tickets were going up to like four figures in terms of sitting in the front row. Though they also mentioned there was just a whole list of celebrities that were attending this game. I'm not gonna name all of them. I mean, you probably have already heard of all the celebrities that show up in this game, and it makes sense because it is Messi making his trip to LA. This was, I think, besides the game against Cruz Azul and also the Leeds Cup final, and maybe even the U.S. Open Cup final, this was the game that was really circle up in the counter because yeah, this is Messi going to the bright lights of LA where all the celebrities are, and they definitely showed up in full force alongside with fans that is willing to fork four figures to try and attend this game. Now, early on in the first half, Vela did puts it high from long range, and by the way, those fans that pay heavy amount to see the game and are mostly Miami fans or Miami bandwagoner or Messi bandwagoner fans, they definitely got to go home happy after this game. In the 11th minute, though, Counter did rob Bawanga as he was in on goal there. That would be a common theme in this game. There was a lot of breakaway chances in this game, which kind of tells me defense and midfield was not really a thing in this one. Though I thought it was a strong start for LAFC. They were pressing for the opening goal, but instead it's Miami the one that gets the opening goal. It's Faris. He scored from out these to give Miami a 1-0 lead. Somehow, Faris, despite the fact that he slipped there, he was still able to get enough power to get that one past the keeper. I mean, that was definitely something that, I mean, I don't think he intended to slip to try to slot that one in. I'm not sure if McCarthy kind of caught that by surprise, but yeah, I mean, that was kind of odd. The fact that how he was able to shoot and still were able to get past the keeper. I mean, it still had some enough pace where I'm not gonna I'm not gonna put too much heat on McCarthy of not saving that, but it was just kind of a weird goal that went in, and one that when you're hot, that's gonna go into the back of the net. So yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of Miami. Again, that was really against the run of play because that was really the first shot for Miami. Bawanga did look to try to answer, and he was in on goal again. This time he was trying to chip it over counter. But this time he puts that one wide, and I just feel like these missed chances are going to come back to haunt LAFC. Knowing Miami has been super clinical and they have the greatest player of all time, not only scoring but pulling the string, you have to put away these limited chances that you're going to get, or not really limited chances, but some big chances that LAFC was going to get up because I had a feeling LAFC was going to get some good chances, especially facing against this Miami defense. That I think if there is a big weakness in this Miami team, got to be the back line of this team. Gonzalez then hits the side netting in the near post before McCarthy would deny Messi from close range, and we do head to halftime with Miami leading 1-0. In the second half, it would be 2-0 in favor of Miami as Jordi Alba would score his first career MLS goal from Messi to make it 2-0 in favor of Miami. So that was kind of a Barcelona throw back there. I mean, Messi just being Messi himself, putting a sublime pass that only Lionel Messi can do, and that yeah, that was a great pass there. Though you got to question the defending there from LAFC. I mean, there was a bunch of LAFC players that caught ball watching, and when you get caught ball watching against Miami and facing against Messi, that's going to be in the back of the net most of the time. So yeah, that made it 2-0 in favor of Miami. Tillman did try to respond, but he missed wide there before Faris was in on goal there, but he missed at wide. And again, defending and midfield, it seems optional. Like both of these teams were allowing way too many breakaway chances. Like the scoreline, I think it was also kind of deceiving. The fact that this could have easily been 3-3 or 4-4 with the amount of chances that both of these teams were getting. Bawanga then hits one right to counter on the volley before he would rob Bawanga. Again, this time after just a poor giveaway there from Miami. And while the Miami defense has been mediocre at best, I thought Counter was a wall again. Like he was determined to not allow a goal in this one. And on the other end, Miami would finish this game off in the 83rd minute. It's Campana scoring from Messi to make it 3-0 in favor of the visitor. And, if there's one thing you cannot allow to do when you face against Messi and his company is to make mistake on the defensive end. And here, Long make a terrible mistake here. He basically heads it right into the path of Messi, who was clean on goal there. And yeah, when that happened, everybody knew that was going to be in the back of net, and it was. 3-0 in favor of Miami. LAFC did get one back. Holland's head did score from Vela to make it 3-1 in this one. That did came from the corner and coming from set piece, which again, just a quick reminder, that's also the biggest weakness of Miami. They just suck in terms of defending set pieces this season. And then Morello would blast it high in the back post despite he had an empty net to shoot. And I thought that shot pretty much sums up LAFC night because the lesson for any team when you face against Inter Miami, first you got to keep it tight. That's what Nashville has done so well, and really Nashville is kind of the only team that's been able to do that. But also the fact is you cannot miss those chances that you're given, because if you miss those chances that is given to you, it's gonna come back to haunt you in every ways. And LAFC found out in a tough way. They lose this one 3-1 against Inter Miami. Shots in this one, 22 shots created, 9 that Miami has. Both teams had 6 shots on goal. 11 shots off target for the 2 that Miami had. 6 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Miami has. And possession-wise, 48% possession compared to 52% possession that Miami has. And with another 3 points in the bag for this Miami team, they're now just 8 points below the red line. And keep in mind, the team that they're chasing in, which is DC, they have 2 games in hand over them. So in theory, if they win those 2 games in hand, they would be just 2 points behind DC United in the standings. And with still plenty of games left in the season, again, I'm saying this Miami team, there's still a shot that they can, of course, make it to the playoffs. Now, obviously, it does get a little bit tougher with the way that, these next couple of games with Messi being on international break and they're not going to have their talisman. This will really test Miami's strength, and I think this could maybe in some way determine whether they can make it to the playoffs or not. Because I know it's just 3 games, but and I know I'd said that there's still plenty of time. In reality, it's not the case, because I think after this, Miami has played 25 games. They got 9 games left in the season. Even though and that seems like a lot of games, it's not. It really isn't. I mean, if you are not going to have Messi for 1/3 of those 9 game stretch, I mean, it gets even more tougher for this Miami team to make it to playoffs. So in some way, again, these remaining games, Miami will have to find ways to do it, especially the next game too, with the way that they're going to be missing 9 starters in the next game against Sporting KC. I mean, the only good news is that the game is at home, and this season they have looked really good at home, even before the Lionel Messi era. But still, it's going to be tough, and we'll see whether if they can do so. And I'm also thinking that Ron Gabbard is probably hoping that is the case, because if Messi does get this Miami team to the playoffs. Oh boy, here we go. This is where everybody's gonna be wondering. Is this mean that now Miami is probably gonna make the run to make it to MLS Cup, and it just complete the perfect narrative of Messi joining this team and able to win an MLS Cup with this team only in his first season, and not even the first season, but even like in the first half season of him joining this team and winning Miami free trophy and winning the treble too. That is if they could, of course, win the U.S. Open Cup, and then of course the MLS Cup, that is. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of review of these 6 games. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these 6 games? And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.